What up, Live Me? And what up, YouTube? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What's up, Forever Voting Third Party? Good to see ya. And we got something fun for you today. We got Kenneth Mejia. There's a lot of background noise going on there, Kenneth. Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's good. Sorry, let me fix my mic. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Where are you at, man? Are you at a party or what's going on?
No, I'm just outside.
Oh, right on. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, good to see you, man. And let me give you, so first of all, we're already past 30 viewers here. The way I do this, Kenneth, is we officially start when one of our two platforms reaches over 30 people. And Kenneth, all right, sorry, I was worried you froze there for a second. And we're already at 43 over on the YouTube, and we got 15 over on the Live Me. So we're going to go get started. So, Kenneth, welcome. This is Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What that means is that people send me topics and articles, and that's what we talk about. In the case of a guest, viewers send me the questions. So all the viewers are going to be asking you the questions. Most of these questions are not going to come from me.
All right.
So just a heads up, we're on two different platforms. We're on Live Me and we're on YouTube. The folks on YouTube, they can see you and hear you. The folks on Live Me, they can hear you, but they can't see you. But they get the first choice on the questions because I see their questions the quickest. So Winkle, Third Party, get your questions ready for Kenneth. But we're going to be taking a lot of questions. It's going to be pretty rapid fire. If you notice me looking around, kind of, it's not that I'm not paying attention. It's that I'm getting questions coming at me from two different platforms, and I'm just trying to organize them all the best I can. So that's what we do here. It's a fun show. It's a different kind of show. It's a pretty rapid fire show. To start off, Kenneth, introduce yourself. Tell people who you are. Tell people what you're running for.
Hello, everyone. Well, thank you, Ron, for having me on. My name is Kenneth Mejia. I'm a 27-year-old Green Party candidate running for Congress here in Los Angeles, Congressional District 34. This is our third time running. We first ran as a Democrat 3 years ago. Then we ran last year as a Green in the special election, and we ended up tying with fourth place out of 24 people. And now we're running again in our third show. I'm a community organizer to work mainly around housing and homelessness. I'm a board member on my Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council, and I'm also a certified public accountant. And so that's who I am, and glad to be here and looking forward to the questions.
So we've been talking a lot on this show about Green entering versus not Green entering, Dem entering versus Dem exiting. We've had a lot of different perspectives on all sides of that. And we've had, some guests on all sides of that. And today, of course, we have somebody who has chosen to go the Green Party route. So to start off, what made you decide to go Green Party?
Right. So before I was a Green, I was a Democrat. Like many people, especially in Los Angeles, this is probably one of the most liberal or progressive places there are in the country. And all we know are Democrats and Republicans. And so one of us grew up being a Democrat thinking that social justice will come through it. And then once we actually saw someone like Bernie Sanders come along, or even before that, Dennis Kucinich, Jesse Jackson, other progressive Democrats who tried to actually move the party left, it just ended up being defeated all the time. And so, after 2016, I sort of had it. And I was like, I'm just going to, if it wasn't for Jill, I wouldn't have joined the Green Party. And so that's what I did. The Green Party, if you actually read their platform and their values, it's actually aligned with many progressive Democrats. And so why not just, do something revolutionary instead of just trying to be progressive nowadays and just try to keep moving the Democratic Party left, and it's been failing for the past, 40, 50 years already. So that's why I joined the Green Party, mainly because of our issues and our platform.
And you are running for Congress in California's 34th district. What is your platform? What are the biggest issues pressing in California right now? What would you bring to the table in Congress?
Right. So our district is the heart of Los Angeles. So if you ever been to the city of LA, this is like LA, downtown LA, parts of East LA. And one of the three biggest issues here are probably housing, homelessness, and healthcare. And, in California, everyone thinks like, oh my God, go blue. We got to have the blue wave. We just say, look at California or look at LA. In our district of LA, homelessness just increased by 23% from 43,000 people to 58,000 people last year. And and then also housing here is incredible. To afford a one-bedroom apartment, it is over $2,000 for a one-bedroom in Los Angeles. And the people here in LA, the median income is around $38,000, and that's for a husband and wife and, children. So, and then the other issue is healthcare. 1 out of every 5 people in LA don't have health insurance, and many are underinsured. And so that's what we're pushing on. Homelessness, we want to make sure we have permanent supportive housing, and we want to make sure we have healthcare facilities that will essentially help those who are seeking mental treatment. We also want to have universal rent control in terms of housing. We want to start a national movement for rent control across the United States, because it's not just in LA, it's happening everywhere. And we also want to build more public housing, mixed income. And in terms of healthcare, we want to push for single payer healthcare. So those are some of the 3 big issues: homelessness, housing, healthcare.
I like it. And you got the 3 H's too, like homelessness, housing, healthcare. So it's like
HHH.
Triple H. You can take that and run with it if you want.
Okay,
like that Triple X was the actor that did that. The Triple X guy. He was like he was the dude. You know what I'm talking about? I'm a couple years older than you.
Triple X from
who was that actor?
Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel, yes.
Yeah.
You could have your own Vin Diesel. I mean, don't shave your head, man. You have really nice hair, but like, you totally do like a thing. All right. Anyway, Marcus wants to know, and this is a very important question, especially pertaining here to California. This is something I'm working on right in my community of Pasadena. Do you support municipal internet?
Yeah, I think one of the we want to include in our platform is actually free internet. Many of the research that was done for these telecommunication companies, especially, was funded by our tax-paying dollars and also the government. So definitely would be 100% all in for free Wi-Fi, free internet across the United States, and even more so in municipalities, which is actually happening, but they're trying to push for Pasadena and in Colorado. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it get to the point where it is free for residents. I would be happy to just get to the point where it's a municipal service, because chances are people would pay lower than what they're paying now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that, you just got to start somewhere. And I'm like, if we can just get the service offered, people are going to have better internet at a lower price. By the way, shout out to Cody. I got to say, I got to give a shout out to Cody. And we got a lot of questions, so we're just going to get started here. How do you feel about the recent strikes in Syria? Joe wants to know.
Yeah, so, what's happening in Syria is devastating. And I take the position with what the Green Party stands for. And it's basically the United States, a capitalist, imperialist country who's trying again and again to destabilize Middle Eastern countries of color, as we see all the time, in the guise of humanitarian efforts. And many people are asking, why would Assad want to gas his own people when he's literally at the ending phases of victory, of defeating the terrorist rebels, or also getting rid of the United States?
Putin wants you to ask.
Say that again.
I said that's the question Putin wants you to ask.
Right, exactly. And so, we just remind people, look at what happened in Vietnam, Cambodia, Iraq, Libya. What are we doing? Are we going to bomb a country to not bomb its own country, hope it won't bomb? It's just like, it just doesn't make sense. So that's sort of our thoughts, and our, especially what we think and what the Green Party thinks is we shouldn't be in these foreign interventionist wars like what Trump is trying to do, and also other global Western countries.
All right. We got a lot coming in. People are really excited to see you. Watson wants to know, if Ken is elected and sees the People's Party take off faster than the Green Party, Will he push to unite both parties? You're likely familiar, but just in case it's not on the top of your head, the People's Party is the project Nick Braun is working on. Nick was on this show recently. I like Nick a lot. He has a lot of cool things to say. But when we asked him about green entering and why you're not considering just green entering, I don't speak for everybody in the audience. I know some people really didn't like his answer, but I will say that was his most disappointing answer for me. I thought
What did he say?
Well, he said that what we need to do is we needed to take resources away from the establishment Democrats and put it into a new party, similar to what the Whigs did with the Republicans. And I understood where he was coming from. I didn't think that that was a totally off-base answer. But the other side of that is, well, why couldn't you just as easily take those same resources and same assets and put them into the Greens? I mean, you yourself were like, I used to be a Democrat, and then, you know, this party speaks a lot more for me. So it's like I understood where he was coming from, but I wasn't totally satisfied with that answer. Although, you know, I get a lot of good perspectives from all sides of it. So, I mean, that's why we like talking about the issue. It's not an easy one to talk about. But yeah, so if that were to happen, would you work to unite those two factions, the Movement for a People's Party and the Green Party? Now, I think what we need to do is we need to just rename the whole thing Green People's Party. Because who would not want to join that party? But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Green Party is very even right now. We're very open to even progressive Democrats. We actually have a lot of people leaving the Democratic Party who are joining the Green Party, and so, you know, I think that's something that we should all unite under. I mean, we're not trying to block anyone out from coming into here. Just don't receive any corporate money. Don't try to be you know, pushing an agenda that caters to the 1%. And yeah, I mean, if we do get elected, I think if we do get elected, a lot of people will actually join the Green Party across the globe, the United States, because people will see like, oh my God, someone actually broke the two-party system in an actual third party. So, and so those are my thoughts on it.
So we have a lot of similar questions. Winkle wants to know, what's the biggest difference in reaction from people when campaigning as a Green as compared to running as a Dem? So
Good
you
question.
only ever ran as a Green, right? Like you've never actually run as a Democrat, or have you?
I have. So this is our third time running. I ran as a Democrat the first time.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. All right.
Yeah. So I ran as a Dem 3 years ago. Then I ran a Green last special election, and it's funny. That's a good question, because in LA we're actually very blue.
You were like 24 the first time you ran.
Yeah, I was actually 25. I just turned 25, but yeah, I was 25 because you have to be 25 to run.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's interesting. In LA, we're a huge blue district, so when we do campaign, a lot of people are not familiar with the Green Party. I'll tell you this: one of the biggest differences is in working class communities of color neighborhoods. A lot of people are receptive to our message and to the Green Party because they've seen what's happened first time with neoliberal policies from the city government to the state government in LA to California. And so the more vulnerable communities are actually receptive. Now, when you get into the more middle income to high income earners, we tell them that we're running as a Green. Many of them they watch the news, they see what the Green Party notion is, Jill Stein, Russia, so they sort of get hesitant, and they only know about the Democrats as well. And so it's definitely what we try to do is when we campaign is get these people on the issues. And so sometimes it might be harder to convince someone who's been a Democrat who makes over like $100,000 because we want to tax them, or we want to, you know, sort of change what their views are on politics, because many of them, you know, watch mainstream media, and the Greens never get any attention. But when it comes to the most vulnerable people, they're very receptive of the Green Party. So that's sort of how it's been with campaigning.
Yeah, and those stigmas that you bring up are really are a very real thing, and that's part of the reason why some people have chosen other routes. And
Right.
it kind of goes into what Sean really wants to know. So we've kind of touched on this, but to just sort of like get specific here, what is your view on green enter or the many routes for progressives? Sean brings up, for example, Sam Ronan is running as a progressive Republican.
Yeah, so my thoughts on green enter versus, dem enter, dem exit is first look at who you are as a person, and then number two, find your politics that matches who you are as a person. And so that's what many of us are. I mean, it's not just we're just joining the Green Party because we hate the Democrats or we don't like the Republicans. We're joining the Green Party because many of us have no other option, and this is who we are as people. And so, and a plus side of having the Green Party is we have ballot access already. So we already have the ability to actually compete against people where you don't have to collect hundreds and thousands of signatures like the new parties are trying to do these days. And so, but mainly it's more so find who you are as a person, find your values and pick up your politics that match it as well. And for us, that's the Green Party. So that's why we're doing it. We have ballot access and we have a great platform as well.
All right. So let's see here. Have you ever felt like Propaganda wants to know, have you ever felt more censorship since going green? Censorship online and socially? Have you ever felt like you've been treated differently?
Oh yeah, all the time. Even when I was a Democrat during Bernie Sanders days, I would like live stream and post comments, and I'd get my comments deleted or my live streams would stop playing in the middle of the of the stream. And even now, running as a green, it's even harder. Like on Facebook and social media, you have to pay now. You have to pay to basically get your reach out. So I mean, for us, we put like $1 in, $2 here and there to get our reach out. But it's definitely harder. The algorithms in social media is based off of making profit, and so the people who pay the most for a topic that we post about on social media will get more attention than we do. And if it's not a popular opinion, like if we talk about healthcare or homelessness or something, we won't get any attention. So we have to end up paying. So that is, we do feel it. We do feel the censorship, indeed.
So we have a few more kind of like Green Party anatomy questions, and then we'll move on to like some other topics. I'm just trying to lump them all together. So let me give you a couple here. So Broken Carpenter wants to know, do you think that the Dems painting Jill Stein as a Russian agent is going to hurt the Green Party's name? And should they try to distance themselves from her, not because of policy, but politics? And another thing I want you to respond to on that. By the way, I did tell you these are going to be hard questions, by the way. These aren't easy ones to talk about. But
I get these all the time.
Gene points out, Chris Hedges called the Greens an ineffective bureaucracy trying to change the system by using the same system. So what is your response to that, and what are your thoughts on the Jill Stein question?
Yeah, so the Jill Stein question, for many of us, we wouldn't even know about the Green Party if it wasn't for Jill Stein. On the issues she was pushing for, it was 100% what many of us were in agreement with as progressive Democrats or burners. And so, when we hear people talk about Jill Stein in Russia, it's hard, especially on the mainstream media. When anyone gets any news of the Green Party or Jill Stein, it's literally only about that, and that gets disseminated to the masses. And so a lot of people see that, and that's why I said it's harder, especially when in LA, when you have these middle income, high income earners who watch CNN or the local media news, and this is what they see. So, in terms of distancing ourselves from her, I think that's ridiculous because we're basically repeating the same message that she's repeating. So if it's not her, it's going to be me. It's going to be another green who's going to be in the spotlight. And so, and this is what the establishment does on both ends, on both parties. They find a scapegoat and they attack that instead of going after the real issues of like big money in politics or the ineffective campaign that the Democrats ran for Hillary. And to your second point about Chris Hedges saying it's a bureaucratic, party, and we're still trying to change the system using the same system. I could see where he's saying that. You know, in the Green Party, there definitely needs to be some improvement with the party itself, the national structure. But the one of my favorite key value in the Green Party is decentralization. And although you know, things might not be as organized or structured as many people see in the National Green Party, we thrive off of local Greens doing the work, and that's sort of what we're doing here in LA. We might not get any, you know, big support or big money from the National Green Party or whatnot, but we're sort of building what the platform, the key values, and the ballot access that we've gotten from the Green Party. So, you know, it's we're very decentralized, and that's why in LA or throughout the country, many decentralized green groups are doing their own thing, and the national and the state parties are thriving off of us. And so, like, if you look at us, we have over 100 volunteers helping us here in LA, and that's sort of one of the great things about the Green Parties. Don't look at us at the national platform, see what we're doing on the work, what we're doing on the ground, and what we're doing on the streets. So.
Well, the way I see it, and you know, and I hate to be like, oh, I see both sides. Like, I hate to be that guy, but in this case, it's like I get it when people are saying, okay, there's a certain stigma that the Greens are really trying to shake. Maybe something completely fresh and new is the way to go. I understand that. The other side of it, which I think is the point you were getting at, which I do think is also a very valid point, is that they smear progressives no matter what. It doesn't matter what party affiliation is next to your name. It doesn't matter if you're just an activist or not just, but you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're not even running for office, you're an activist. It doesn't matter if you're a comedian in most cases. Like they kind of go after progressives no matter what. And that's kind of like just the stigma you're always dealing with. So I think that while I understand that perspective, I think to entertain the notion that if we just went a totally different route and didn't have the Greens, it wouldn't happen the same way it has happened to the Greens and continues to happen to the Greens. I think that's just naive. Of course it would. It would just be another scapegoat. So, you know, it's not an easy issue to solve, you know, and that's why we spend so much time talking about it.
It's not, and I want to point that out. That's why we do a lot of community-based building here locally, that a lot of people don't see nationally. And if you want to see what good work is happening in the local community in LA, check out the Greens in Los Angeles. So that's what I'd say.
Lady says that her biggest issue is healthcare. And you already said that you do support single payer, but she asked specifically about single payer and universal health care. And she also wants to know, what are your feelings about the current U.S. system? So I'm going to ask, what are your feelings about the current U.S. healthcare system, and how can we go about getting to single payer here in California?
Yeah, so the current healthcare system, specifically in the United States, we have Obamacare, right? And in California, same thing. Here in California, we're actually trying to pass Senate Bill 562, SB 562, in the past, like within the last year, which would have provided a single payer healthcare system. And so right now, our healthcare system as is not efficient. People are still paying high deductibles. People are still paying high premiums out of their paychecks. People are still paying high copays and high amounts for prescription drugs. And these subsidies that we're giving to these health insurance companies, they're just overpricing every service, every prescription drug that we have, and it's inefficient, and a lot of people can't afford the healthcare that they need. Look at me, for example. I have a great job. I have the PPO 500. I have the best health insurance in my company has to offer, and I had to get a cyst removed last 2 weeks ago, and I ended up paying $1,000 still, and that's with the best insurance. I pay $80 a paycheck to Blue Shield, and I still ended up paying like $1,000 for this healthcare system when my friend from Canada literally had the same removal and got it for free and in 15 minutes. And so, you know, it's very, the way it is now, our public healthcare system at Obamacare and our private healthcare system is ridiculous. And so, you know, in California, we're trying to actually build a movement around SB 562, which would establish a single payer system. And you know, it's going to take a lot of hard work because many of these, what makes it harder too is a lot of these Democrats in office. And the funny thing is, California has like a super majority of Democrats, or majority, and they still can't pass single payer healthcare. Is that some of them will actually co-sponsor the bill, and so many people in California will be like, "Oh my God, the Democrats are going very progressive," and then when the bill dies, they just keep quiet about it. So you know, there's a lot of work to be done. Single payer is still the way, because currently the way it is right now under Obamacare is not working, and then even private health insurance companies through employers like mine are still expensive.
So they got to go the way of the buffalo. There's no getting around it. Well, how can we strategically start to? I mean, Anthony Rendon, who is a Democrat,
Right.
he shelved the bill.
Right.
So, like, just from a strategic standpoint, what do we do to kind of? I mean, obviously, we got to primary him out. We've had Maria Estrada on the show. She's hopefully going to win.
Right.
But, if she doesn't, like, how can we kind of pry this out of his hands?
Yeah, so I think there are two ways to make social change or any change. One way is through politics, which is what Maria is trying to do. Shout out to Maria. She's trying to, take his seat so we could actually have someone in power who has the privilege, the resources, the media outlets who could get this spotlight on single payer. The second way is what the nurses are doing here in California, or the Healthy California campaign, is they're actually knocking on doors every week in Rendon's district and other assembly members' districts so that constituents could reach out to their, political representatives. And so those are the ways to do it. Is you either got to build a movement around it, or literally primary these people out of office so that, and those two are not mutually exclusive. You do both at the same time. So those are some of the ways I think that will happen, because one thing I want to mention too is not a lot of people see that the amount of deaths that happen because people can't afford health care. But you'll see something like what will happen in a mass shooting or in Syria, and you'll get a lot of attention on that. And so I think the more that we publicize and we connect these personal experiences for family members who are going through the same thing that someone else is like 100 miles away, then I think we'll get more attention. So yeah, so those are the two big ways I think we could bring about single payer or any change in general.
So Forever Voting Third Party wants to know, they live here in LA, but they're not from LA originally. So they want to know, what's the anatomy of your district? What does District 34 encompass?
Yeah, so District 34 encompasses a good part of the city of LA. It's downtown LA, all the way west to Koreatown, all the way down south to Pico Union to the 10 freeway, all the way east to Boyle Heights, City Terrace, El Sereno, all the way up to Eagle Rock in northeast LA, Highland Park, Glassell Park, Cypress Park, and then Chinatown and Westlake. So it's a pretty big district. It's a good amount of LA.
I was gonna say, man. Eventually, I was like, he's just saying neighborhoods. They're all in there.
Yep, those are the.
Venice, Santa Monica. It includes San Diego's in there. It includes San Jose.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of the actual city of LA. So.
So what is your stance on bail reform? And I'll add a little bit onto that submitted question. Go ahead and talk your thoughts on the for-profit prison industry in general. But the question specifically asks, what is your thoughts on bail reform?
Yeah, so, we're against for-profit prisons. Our congressman actually, over his political tenure, has received money from the private prison industry of California, which is ridiculous. And I think, the United States has more prisoners than all countries combined. And it's a for-profit scheme. Like I said, if there is an issue, if there's something that, you can make money off of, people will find the pettiest of crimes to lock you up. And in LA, many communities, especially people of color, Black and brown communities, are getting locked up, getting harsher sentences, getting, they can't afford bail to get out compared to their white counterparts. And so, those are sort of my thoughts on the for-profit prison system. Is we need to abolish it. In terms of bail reform in general, I think many communities, especially communities of color, are can't afford to get out, even if they do get locked up for some reason. And so I think one way we could change that is essentially, well, first of all, we need to abolish profit prisons, and then in terms of bail reform, we need to find a way to basically make sure that Black and brown people who have an opportunity to have a lower rate, to essentially get out. But in general, we wouldn't even want that. We would want to abolish the whole for-profit prison system.
What are your thoughts on? And I'm sure you're a huge fan, but someone wants to know, what are your thoughts on super-delegates?
Super-delegates. I hate them. I hate super-delegates. Super-delegates, they piss me off. Sorry, that's the personal. That's the personal.
No,
emotions
you're
coming out.
here.
But
encouraged.
Yeah, but I just feel like in my district, we were the only district in LA County that won for Bernie Sanders, and our congressman still voted for Hillary. It's like, what the hell? Like, what's the point of having democracy?
It's more than we do. He's
Right.
trying to protect us.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be protected?
Exactly.
Protected.
It's ridiculous. That's another reason why I left. Like, what the hell?
But they have a unity reform commission, Kenneth. So they just want to be able to cheat a little bit instead of cheating a lot. They're meeting us halfway. They just want to cheat a little bit now. It's
bullshit. It's all bullshit. So they're giving us an inch, and for many people think it's like, oh my God, that's so huge. This is so big. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, why we keep asking for crumbs when we could have the whole loaf? I don't know. That's sort of how we think.
I mean, that could be a campaign slogan for you. Super delegates are bullshit. Kenneth Mejia, Green Party candidate.
They are bullshit. Yeah.
I'd buy that t-shirt. I would totally buy that t-shirt. And I'd be like, I'm voting for that guy. I don't live in the district, unfortunately. But all right, let's see. We still got a lot of stuff here. So how is the local campaigning and activism going? And is there anything you'd like people who aren't in your area to help? What can people who aren't in the area do to help out?
Yeah, so in terms of the local campaign, we've been starting since December-ish. We collected over 3,000 signatures to be on the ballot. Our congressman paid his way on, paid $1,740. We actually went out into the community and collected signatures. So that's huge. We're constantly tabling at events. We're constantly knocking on doors every day. Our goal is to have 100 people who live in LA County, so not necessarily who live in my district, but who live all over LA, to come through and help for 2 hours. Like 2 hours a week is all we ask for. And if you don't live in LA, we actually have like over 100 people signed up to phone bank from their home. And we have a script. It's very easy. We have a voicemail script and we have a text script. So there are so many ways to get involved. Like we said, it's going to take real conversations to win this election. Only 10% of the district votes. So if you think about it, even big money has a limit. And so if we actually really get out there and convince people to vote, then we can actually win. So, those are the ways you could help. And we also outraised our congressman in small dollar donations, which is huge. Like, that's huge. And that's also another way if you could help too, is by donating. So
what are your thoughts on the corporate media basically trying to convince Trump to go into World War III?
Thoughts on corporate media? It's all part of the agenda. Steer panic in the American people, show people images of children dying, and then having a message below it saying we have to save these people. It's just another false flag. It's what we're doing in Iraq. It's what we do in Libya. I think the corporate media they're both huge donors to the Republican and Democratic Party to push the agenda of the politicians and ultimately the military-industrial complex. And so I think the corporate media needs to start focusing on the real issues, and which is what Tulsi or Bernie has been trying to do in their position in Congress. And so those are sort of my thoughts on that.
What are your thoughts on the BDS movement?
So what's going on in Israel and Palestine has been going on. It's nothing new. America donates heavily, billions of dollars to Israel, and it's not right. well, first of all, we should be taking care of our people here at home. And second of all, Palestine is basically under constant attack, under colonization. And the amount of force that's given by Israel to Palestine, even just a couple of weeks ago, just for protesting on the border, and here we talk about protesting as a right. And then over there, you have people getting killed, getting shot at. It actually reminds me of what happens here in the United States with police who do that with black and brown people here. So, I think that, and the excuse is that Israel has the right to defend themselves. I mean, of course we do, but literally you're going to bomb and kill people who are already living in worse, poor conditions, who are trying to just get their freedom and get, claims to the rights of the land of where they live is ridiculous. And so, it's just a lot of cognitive dissonance, what you see with the police state here in the United States and also what you see in the Israel-Palestine conflict as well.
Well, when you have a conflict, usually the aggressor needs to halt first. And in this case, Israel is the aggressor. They have all the power. So it's like, well, you guys have the power.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when police say, why don't you just listen? Why don't you just submit to the police? Why don't you just listen? It's like, Jesus Christ. Anyways, yeah, that's how.
So here's a question for you. I'm going to read it verbatim. This is from Gene. Gene says, the system is corrupt and our elections are rigged. How are you going to infiltrate the establishment? And Gene adds, pretending we live in a democracy is ... cute, ? I think Gene's a motivational speaker. And that is their question for you.
Yeah, I mean, we don't live in a democracy. And, this is why we're actually running for office. And it's hard because we're playing the game that is stacked against progressives or third parties. Even worse, you're a third party in general. So, you're trying to infiltrate the system is even harder. And so that's why we're sort of taking advantage of the ways in which the voting system here in LA has been. Historically, it's a low voter turnout. And so, like we said, if we could actually get these people who are angry, who are pissed off, in my district, 1 out of every 4 people live in poverty. If we could get these people who are fed up with the current system and see to it that there's actually another party that actually gives a damn and that could actually, put their issues and concerns on the table on the national stage, then we could essentially break the two-party system. And so that's what we're hoping to do right now. Like I said earlier, we're community building and we're getting people involved in the political process through the Green Party. And so I think if we are able to turn out imagine if we get 10%, like turning out 10% of the vote, that'll be huge. Even if we get like 40 to 60% and we lose in the primary, but we go to the general, I think we could still win. And so I think the main issue or main thing we have to do is within this corrupt system that we live in is we have to sort of build this community power, first of all. But it's hard to do it because many people are still feeling the strains of capitalism. Many people are working 60 hours a week. They can't volunteer. They can't knock on doors. But, we're able to pull hundreds of volunteers already. So we're just building on that. And hopefully if we win, we can get more people across the nation to have the green wave. So it's hard to infiltrate the system.
Oh, no, totally.
So,
and Gene, I mean, I made the joke, but I think the frustrations they expressed are very valid and very real.
Right.
And I often share them. So that being said, going on that, Video Game wants to know, what's the biggest psychological obstacle you hear from most people? Is it the green policies, or is it they don't have a chance perception? What's kind of the biggest stigma that you face?
As a green, like what's the biggest stigma, or just
in
our
general,
campaign?
your campaign, the progressive movement, take that however you want.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things to overcome and as a progressive is trying to get people to get involved. you know, a lot of people will do the protest things. We'll go to the big rallies. We'll go to the March for Women, March for Our Lives. People will go out and feed the homeless. People will do, you know, community service or protest. But the hardest thing is getting people to actually get involved to change the system in which we go to these events where we protest or where we go out and feed these homeless people. What we try to tell people is like, we don't want to keep protesting for the rest of our lives. We don't want to keep feeding the homeless. We don't want to keep having GoFundMes for people who can't afford healthcare. And so we're trying to get people involved in actually this in systemic change, which is what we're trying to do through politics. And so the hardest part is getting people to see that, because a lot of people only do the protesting or only do the big rallies or only, you know, want to do the charity work. But actually getting involved, doing the door knocking, doing the phone calls, that's where the hard work's at. Because if we change that, then there'll be no need to be doing all these other actions, even though, you know, we have to do it at the same time. But every movement needs a political arm, and we're that political arm outside of the two-party system. Yeah. And by the way, I have to go soon, but yeah.
Okay, cool, man. When's you're out, man? We'll respect your heart out. When do you got to go?
Oh, I told Craig around 10:30ish, but I could answer like maybe one or two more questions.
All right, so we'll do two more quick ones. We got two more submitted here, and then we're going to cut it off at these last two here, and then we're going to let you plug everything you need to plug. And these are two pretty quick ones. One of them is about a specific book. Propaganda wants to know, what are your thoughts on nuclear war and the new Doomsday book by Daniel Ellsberg? Are you familiar with that book? I personally have not read it, so.
No.
Okay,
so I'm not familiar with it.
It sounds interesting, but I'm not familiar with that. Balthazar wants to know thoughts on municipal mobile data and municipal cellular.
I mean, municipal mobile data is like internet, right? So like we said earlier, we would want, you know, free internet in municipalities. And like I said, we'd even want it to be a national movement too for free Wi-Fi. So in terms of cell phones, yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I think that'd be something great to have, where people have a cell phone to use to make calls for free. Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, I'm on board with that. Municipalities. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's first we got to get a solid internet infrastructure owned by the public first. I mean, right. And I'm all for that too. I'm totally with you and Balthazar. I am 110% for that. But we're about to just lose the free and open internet as we know it completely. We got to stop that first. You know, it's like one of those like let's crawl and then walk and then run. But yeah, I'm totally with you. So Kenneth, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. It was absolutely wonderful to have you. Please use this time to plug everything you need to plug. What is your website? Where can people learn more? When do people have to go vote, et cetera, et cetera? Tell them everything they need to know.
Perfect. Well, first of all, thank you, Ron. I mean, I wish I could stay longer. The only thing is I'm actually at work. So, you know, and that's what I want to tell everyone is we're 100% volunteers. We're students from high school to college. We're full-time workers, and we're all doing this on our spare time. And even myself, like I'm literally outside of my work. And it's hard, but our campaign is filled with normal, hardworking people getting involved in the political process, because people are going to make decisions for us that we don't like if we don't do anything. And so that's why we're running. If you want to help us, you could always go to mejiaforcongress.com, MEJIA, the number 4 Congress.com, and you could sign up to volunteer there, and you can also donate there as well. You know, we pay a lot of volunteers for their meals and their gas. We don't have paid staff. We don't have a headquarters. We meet in parks and coffee shops. And so this is when we tell people about bare bones grassroots campaigns. This is it. You can always reach me at Facebook or through email at kennethmejiaforcongress@gmail.com, and we'll answer any of your questions. And so, you know, this is an exciting campaign. We're up against 2 people, a libertarian and a Democratic congressman. If we get top 2 on June 5th, we will advance to the general election, and it will be the first time that a Green has ever made it this far as a Green congressional candidate in LA. So this is huge. The general election? The general election's on November 6th, and the primary's on June 5th. So if we win, we're going to need all hands on deck, because we could actually turn LA green. So thank you, Ron, and thank you, everyone.
That's really exciting. Kenneth, thank you so much. Guys, I'm going to spare you my post-amble. You know the drill here. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. If you can help support the show, RonPlacone.com. Follow me on Twitter @Ron Placone. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. Thank you guys again for your awesome questions. You knocked it out of the park again. Kenneth, thank you for being so good at answering them rapid fire and being on top of it, man. It's not an easy show to do, and you knocked it out of the park. And guys, thank you, because your questions made it awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Kenneth, best of luck to you. Again, that website, mejiaforcongress.com, MEJIA4congress.com. Take care, Kenneth. Blame it on me. If your boss yells at you, blame it on me. It's my fault.
I'll make a post. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Cheers.
All right, bye.